Hello, somebody else popping this D about to react to this vid by courtroom. This is 5 reactions of innocent death row inmates set free. Damn, y'all escaped death by the skin of your teeth. You was on death row and then they found out you were innocent. That's crazy. Anyway, let's see what happens. Let's watch.
This is Clifford Williams. He was sentenced to death and spent 43 years behind bars for crimes he did not commit in Jacksonville, Florida.
I just wanted to get out and be with my sick kids. They were gone. There wasn't nobody but them.
Williams was 34,
I
and his
exactly
18-year-old nephew, Nathan Myers, were suspects in a murder and attempted murder. The survivor of the shooting claimed that she had been shot by the uncle and nephew, identifying them both by name. Despite having solid alibis, Williams and Myers were both arrested and charged within hours. No physical or DNA evidence pinned the two men to this crime, yet both men were found guilty. Williams was sentenced to death, and Myers was given a life sentence. It wasn't until 43 years later, while they were in prison, there was a new investigation on the scene, proving that the ballistic reports from the crime lab didn't match the original testimony, and it was the only evidence pinning the men to this crime. And now, this is the moment that Williams and Myers have been waiting for 43 years.
That is
Mr. Williams and Mr. Myers, the indictments have been dismissed against you. You are free to go, and we are adjourned.
After they hear that they are free, they hug each other and their team. Williams and Myers both received $2 million in state compensation. This is Robert Springsteen, who spent 9 years in prison and was sentenced to death for crimes he allegedly did not commit in Austin, Texas. Springsteen was 17 at the time, and 3 friends were believed to be prime suspects in the killings of 4 teenage girls at a yogurt shop. One of the boys was caught carrying a .22 caliber gun at the mall, as it was the same weapon used in the killings. The boys were set free after no link was found, but 7 years later, one of the friends was interrogated and begun to give up information saying that the .22 caliber gun used to belong to Springsteen.
But this is one of the most significant things that ever happened in your life. That's what I keep trying to explain to you. If I was there and I partook in this, I would remember these things. And you do remember these things. Not at all.
He was arrested, then later convicted and sentenced to death. Springsteen's conviction was later overturned based on an unfair trial. While waiting for a retrial, lawyers requested further DNA evidence to be analyzed from the original crime scene. Even though it had been 17 years, the analysts concluded that no DNA was found of Springsteen and his 3 friends. Now, Springsteen is back in court.
Second defendant, Robert Springsteen's case is being called this afternoon. Additionally, 4 pending capital murder indictments.
And all charges are now dismissed.
The court has signed these dismissals in each of the causes against these 2 defendants, Michael Scott and Robert Springsteen.
Springsteen sits silently as he hears that he is now a free man. Springsteen spent 9 years in prison, but his overturned conviction was not granted based on actual innocence, which makes him not eligible for a payout.
Damn, that's fucked up.
This is Curtis Flowers, who was wrongfully imprisoned for 23 years and sent to the death penalty for a quadruple murder he reportedly never committed in Winona, Mississippi. Flowers was 26 years old when he was fired from working at a furniture store. 2 weeks later, the owner of the same store and 3 employees were all found dead inside. In no time, Flowers became a suspect and was later arrested and charged with the murder of all 4 victims. Over 6 different trials, all for the same crime, the final verdict resulted in guilty, and Flowers was sentenced to death. Investigators started looking into the jury selection, and reportedly the prosecution had racially discriminated during the selection of jurors across all 6 trials. This reached the U.S. Supreme Court, and it was voted to throw the case based on the prosecutor had purposefully dismissed African-American jurors from the trial. The judge granted Flowers bail, and he is now getting put on house arrest.
The only times that Mr. Flowers is allowed to be away from the location where he will be residing is if he's receiving medical treatment, attending meetings with his attorney.
And now, in 23 years, this is the first time Flowers is outside of prison.
Oh, I don't know. I'm so excited right now. I can't even think straight.
Thank you all very much.
These are good people. I would be
A
fucking
year
livid.
later, the state denied to put Flowers back on trial and officially dropped all charges. The state of Mississippi announced that it will pay Flowers $500,000 for his 23 years of wrongful imprisonment.
$500,000?
She was
Y'all are
sentenced to death.
disrespectful. Y'all are disrespectful. That is it.
And spent 22 years on death row for a crime she did not commit in Phoenix, Arizona.
The prosecution against me was one of a malicious nature. My innocence did not matter in their pursuit of a conviction.
Melky's 4-year-old son was found dead in a desert, being shot 3 times. Melky was questioned by Detective Armando Salde Jr., which was not recorded or reported at all. He claimed that Melky admitted to arranging the murder.
She then decided that it'd be best for Christopher Melky to die.
She was then charged with first-degree murder
Why did he
despite
lie
no
on her?
actual record of her admitting to the crime. The state determined she had masterminded the shooting and she was sentenced to death.
I didn't conspire with anybody. I wasn't there. I didn't murder anybody. I loved my son more than anything.
Over 20 years later, questions started to get asked regarding Melky's confession to Detective Salde, which Melky still denies ever giving.
I had absolutely nothing
Why
to
did he
do
lie?
with the brutal murder of my son, Christopher. And I did not give a confession to Mr. Saldate.
Reportedly, the court found that Detective Salde had a long list of lying under oath and violating individual rights while interrogating. Melky's alleged confession was the only direct evidence linking her to the crime. And finally, 24 years after the arrest and facing the death sentence, her conviction gets overturned. Listen as she
Who
shares
killed that
her
little
thoughts
boy?
for the wrongful
That was
conviction.
Losing a child to murder is a devastating tragedy. Being falsely accused of a crime you didn't commit is also a devastating tragedy. Try to imagine that as some of you sit in judgment of me. What happened to me could happen to any one of you.
Melky now walks out a free woman. There are no reports of Melky receiving any compensation.
Wow. But who killed this little boy though? They said he got shot 4 times in the desert. A 4-year-old. Like, what? That's really, really odd. And it's interesting that they're saying that, oh, well, this detective is known to lie on people, so that was the only evidence we had against you, so we're going to let you free because he's a liar and he might have lied on you. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe she is innocent, though. I'm not trying to put that on her, but something is a little suspicious there. Because who would kill that 4-year-old like that? I don't know. That's a little odd. But, yeah, I'm glad that, you know, the innocent people were set free because that is pretty fucked up. And then the amount of money that they give them, it's just so insulting. This man spent 23 years of his life in prison wrongfully, and you give him 500,000 stanky ass dollars? That's all he get? Like, for 23 years of his life? What? Wild. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought. Let me know what other videos you want to watch, and I'll see y'all next one. Bye.